Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the last call for SBA COVID-19 EIDL webinar. Our program will begin in just a few minutes. Welcome to our webinar. We're allowing time for the system to let everyone to join. Our program will begin in 1 minute. Welcome to the last call for SBA COVID-19 EIDL webinar, the latest in our Navigating Your Business Through COVID-19 webinar series. These webinars are being recorded and will be available for review on our website approximately 24 hours after the session. Today's webinar provides the most recent updates on the SBA COVID-19 Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL, program, straight from the SBA North Carolina District Office. The Small Business and Technology Development Center, the SBTDC, is an SBA partner and is providing technical assistance to EIDL applicants. I'm Bob Weston, Director of the SBTDC statewide COVID-19 Business Recovery and Resiliency Program, a CARES Act funded initiative expanding the Small Business and Technology Development Center's capacity to assist businesses in successfully navigating the COVID-19 crisis. The SBTDC is the business and technology extension of the University of North Carolina system. For over 36 years, the SBTDC has been a resource for business owners, providing confidential counseling, educational programs, and a connection to university resources that helps them make their businesses better. The SBTDC operates 10 regional centers across the state that are hosted by our UNC system campuses, with 16 offices serving all 100 North Carolina counties. Business resiliency counselors are now embedded with each of our regional centers. To request a virtual appointment with a business resiliency counselor, go to www.sbtdc.com/ERFC. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of Byron Hicks, Executive State Director of the SBTDC. Byron was named State Director of the Small Business and Technology Development Center in January 2021. Hicks also serves as the Assistant Vice Chancellor of Business and Technology Extension Programs in the Office of External Affairs, Partnerships, and Economic Development at NC State University. It's my privilege to introduce Mike Arreo, Director of the U.S. Small Business Administration North Carolina District Office. As District Director, Mike Arreo oversees an office that drives economic development by assisting local entrepreneurs with starting and growing businesses. He also directs the implementation of SBA programs related to accessing capital, business advising, and government contracts. Mike?
Thank you so much, Bob, and thanks also to Catherine for arranging this. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Mike Arreo. I'm the District Director with the U.S. Small Business Administration based here in Charlotte. You'll give me a moment to share my screen. And joining me today are Patrick Rodriguez, our Senior Area Manager based in Raleigh, as well as Sharon Harvey, our Senior Area Manager based in Asheville, and they're going to be helping me with today's presentation. So today we're going to cover the COVID Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. I'm going to provide an overview of the three constituent parts of EIDL. I'm going to talk about the EIDL loan program itself. I'm going to talk about two so-called grant programs, Targeted EIDL Advance and Supplemental Targeted Advance. I'm going to talk importantly about a couple of key deadlines that folks need to be cognizant of. I'm going to share some resources, and afterwards we're going to turn it over and spend the balance of the time fielding your Q&A through the Q&A box available on your screen. The main website for all of the information I'm going to be providing today is at sba.gov/EIDL, sba.gov/EIDL. And there you can find important information on the EIDL loan program, on the advanced programs that we're going to talk about, and some select EIDL data. Including the extent of loans provided to folks here in North Carolina, for example. So what is the EIDL all about? So this is a direct loan from the United States government. Many of you are familiar with a PPP loan program that was operated through lenders, including banks, credit unions, fintechs, and that sort of thing. The EIDL program is a direct loan that is available and applied for through the US government, through the SBA. So it must be repaid. It is not forgivable. Generous terms, 3 3/4 interest if you are a for-profit entity, 2 3/4 if you are a nonprofit. You have a 30-year loan term, so that is exceedingly generous. And on top of that, your first 2 years principal and interest payments are deferred, so you need not make any payments for the first 2 years. So what does that look like to somebody who gets a $10,000 COVID EIDL? Your monthly repayment would be less than $50 a month based on that 30-year term with a 2-year deferment. There are very flexible uses of the COVID EIDL program. In general, the purpose of a COVID EIDL loan program is to help folks with their working capital needs, day-to-day operating expenses. Unlike PPP, where we said you must use it for payroll, you must use it for qualified expenses. Here, it's just, generally speaking, working capital needs.
Excuse me, Mike.
The application is accessible. You apply
Excuse me,
directly.
Mike, I don't think we're seeing your slides.
You're not seeing my slide, okay.
I can see them.
Slide. You don't
I
see
can
the
see
slide.
them.
I can see them as well.
You can see the slide?
Yes.
Must
Okay.
just be me, thanks.
Okay, let me go ahead and continue. The application is very accessible. You apply directly through the SBA at sba.gov/EIDL. So there's no external financial institutions that you would be going through. Here are some important policy changes that were announced as of September 8th. The first is that we can now allow folks to apply for up to $2 million, all right? Folks can now apply up for $2 million. And how that works is, for example, if you have an existing loan for say $300,000 and you wanted to apply for the maximum $2 million, you do not apply for a new loan, you apply for a modification to your existing loan because you can only have one COVID EIDL outstanding at a time, right? So you go back and you ask for an increase to your existing loan. You do not apply for a whole new a whole new loan. If you do, that would be flagged as a duplicate and you would just be kind of shut out. So that's how that works. Another important change is now we can permit, and this is a very important change, now we can permit borrowers to use EIDL funds to prepay non-federal business loans. So if you have a business loan that is not federally backed or related, you can actually use an EIDL to prepay that in full, in fact, if you wanted to. As I mentioned earlier, there is a 24-month of deferment from the loan origination. So if you got a loan right now and Well, if you have an existing loan and you got an increase right now, you would have a 2-year deferment as of the date of the original disbursement from when you previously got it. So that's how that 24-month deferment works. And as far as the last 3 rows, we simplified the affiliation requirements tremendously to recognize that there are some industries that were hit extremely hard in the course of this pandemic, food service industries and such. So we made it a lot easier for those businesses with affiliates or subsidiaries or branches to apply and have SBA recognize that those industries have been particularly hard hit. For example, we introduced a maximum cap on large affiliated groups up to 10 million. So here's a couple of scenarios I want to talk about. Let's just say that you wanted to get a COVID EIDL loan of $25,000. The interest rates, as I mentioned, are very low. You get a 30-year term. The deferment still applies for everybody. Your minimum credit score has to be 570, so that is way more generous than many banks and credit unions would be as far as enabling you to access a business loan. So that low minimum credit score means that we're able to help a lot more people that have been struggling and that have been hit hard as a result of COVID EIDL. One of the things that we with the SBA recognize is as a result of the pandemic, many folks had very good or decent credit. And guess what? Over the course of the last 20 months, their personal credit histories took a little bit of a hit because they had to go out and take personal credit cards and that sort of thing to keep their businesses afloat. So we recognize that. And it's for reasons such as those that we relax the credit score requirement tremendously. For that $25,000 loan, no collateral, no personal guarantees either. Okay, so we're looking at minimum credit scores, no collateral, no personal guarantees. Those are extremely favorable terms and requirements. And as I said, normal operating expenses would be the use of proceeds. I talked about the fact that you can prepay a business loan that's non-federal related in full if you wanted. You can also make regularly scheduled payments on federal debt. So if you have an existing SBA direct or guaranteed loan, you can make regular scheduled payments on that principal and interest. You just can't pay off the whole thing. And by the way, we say prepay business debt, not refinance, because technically we're not refinancing any loans. We're not, paying off lender directly. We're providing the funds to you. And then if you desire to prepay those business loans in full, then that is permissible. All right. So that's what a $25,000 loan looks like. How about 25 to $500,000? Same rates and terms, except that collateral is going to be required for loans above $25,000. And that collateral consists of a Uniform Commercial Code first lien on the business assets. That's standard business lending practice. And we will require a personal guarantee if the loan is over $200,000. Everything else is unchanged. How about loans above $500,000 to $2 million? Your minimum credit score is a little bit higher, 625, and we take a UCC, first security interest in the business assets, plus business real estate, not personal real estate, business real estate as collateral. And a personal guarantee, again, above $200,000 for loans above $200,000 is going to be required. Okay, so this in a nutshell is what 3 different scenarios might look like if you're looking to get a loan. All right, so if you have an existing loan of $25,000, you want to bump that up to say $400,000. Your minimum credit score still must be 570, but we're going to require collateral, being that UCC1, and your personal guarantee is going to be required because the loan is over $200,000. And again, what we're doing in that scenario, we're going from, what did I say, 25 to 400,000. We're going to be modifying your existing $25,000 loan by $375,000 to take you up to $400,000. And if that's what you didn't intend, excuse me, if that's what you did not intend to do, if you intended to increase your hold so that you get a brand new $400,000 loan, then you would modify your $25,000 loan to $425,000. So the balance available being $400,000, what you desired in that case. So that's how it works. You do not apply for a brand new loan. You apply for a modification to your existing. As far as very broad application details, we're finding that on average, a loan of less than $500,000, about 3 weeks, about 6 weeks timeline for loans above 500,000. And if you have a loan less than $500,000, but you want an increase of greater than $500,000, then that's 3 + 6 = 9 weeks total for that. And that's if you started now. In terms of required documentation, SBA will take a look at standard document requirements such as federal income taxes and what's known as the IRS Form 4506T. That 4506T form, which many of you are familiar with if you're looking to increase your EIDL, that form is sent from the SBA to the IRS to order your tax transcripts. And what those tax transcripts show is the income and expenses of your business that we use to validate your level of income, to validate the loan amount, to validate your level of repayment. We have to order that from the IRS. And the IRS, we have found, is very particular about how they receive that 4506T. And this is probably the biggest thing that we're seeing, is that SBA tends to ask for that IRS form a couple of times until the applicant gets it right. Let me share a few tips. Make sure that the 4506T is not blurry. Make sure that it is clearly legible. Make sure that the correct title of the business owner or president is used. Make sure that all the appropriate boxes are checked, as an example. And make sure that you're using the correct form. SBA will supply you the correct form if you're on the website or as you apply for you to complete. Additional documents over $500,000, Form 22, which is a standard business borrowing resolution, schedule of liabilities, which is just your schedule of loans, list of real estate owned, and Form 413, which is your personal financial statement. Nothing that you wouldn't provide to your bank if you're applying for a business loan anyway, so nothing particularly onerous there. And it is possible you will not need to submit the standard documents again if you're going in for an increase, and your last increase was done relatively recently. So how do you apply? If you're applying for a COVID EIDL for the very first time, you complete the intake form. You will then get an email invitation from the SBA to go into your portal, that SBA assigns to you, and then you finish the application process in the portal. If you're going in for an increase to your existing COVID EIDL, do not complete the intake form again, just go straight into the portal to request more funds. There's a button you can hit to request more funds for that purpose. It's important to realize that small business owners can apply for any eligible loan size today and do not have to wait until the exclusivity period ends. Well, the exclusivity period is already over, so you can apply for any eligible loan size today. Let me talk a little bit about the Targeted Advance Program. This is, for lack of a better word, this is one of the grant programs that the SBA has available. So last year, by act of Congress, SBA made available up to $10,000 in free money to small businesses of all kinds. With this new piece of legislation, Congress said, okay, for those of you who thought you would get the maximum $10,000, we'll allow you to apply for an advance of up to $10,000. Like, for example, if you got only $5,000 last year, we said, come on in, you can apply for an additional $5,000 to take you up to, the $10,000 that was promoted last year and that we ran out of. So that's, in a nutshell, how the Targeted Advance Program works and what that's all about. But there are two things, and I'll go into those a little bit more detail in the next slide. One of them is that you have to make sure you're in a low-income area. And if you go to sba.gov/targetedadvance, you can actually click on the map to show you how that works. And I'll talk about that in just another moment. But first of all, in order to apply for the Targeted Advance, you have to make your application for the EIDL loan, okay? Applying for the EIDL loan will get you into our database so that then you can click, yes, I would like the Targeted Advance, and that will initiate you. Here's the thing, even if you get denied the EIDL loan, you can still take advantage of the advance. Or if you get approved for the EIDL loan, you can accept that and still take advantage of the Targeted Advance. Or you can get approved for the EIDL loan and refuse to accept and still proceed with getting the Targeted Advance. The important thing is that you must apply for your EIDL in order to take advantage of the targeted advance. Just please make sure that you're fully cognizant of the fact that if you submit and sign off on the loan documents, then you are going to be liable for that loan. Just be very aware of the document signing. And our folks at the SBTDC have counselors that can help you navigate the paperwork as well. So this is something that you need not do alone. So let me talk a little bit more about targeted EIDL advance. Here's the deal. You had to have evidenced at least a 30% economic loss. What does that mean? For any given 8-week period beginning March 2020, as compared to the previous comparable 8-week period, if you show a 30% drop in revenues, then that's the economic loss that we're looking for. And you had to have no more than 300 employees, okay? All of that, plus you have to be in a low income area. And when you go onto the location map at sba.gov/targeted advance, you would just key in your address, and if it shows purple as your address, then you're in a low income area. I'll show you a couple of maps in just a moment. This is probably the most controversial part of the targeted advance, because we have gotten a few complaints from folks saying, I thought I was in a low income area, but the map doesn't show that as such. We took the definition of low income area strictly from the legislation that Congress approved. And Congress was very specific in saying that SBA, you have to use the Internal Revenue Code definition of a low income area. And that definition is incorporated into the mapping tool that's available for everybody to use. So I'm afraid we cannot do anything about that. We are bound by what Congress dictates to us. That map is kind of final, unfortunately, for some people that are a little bit disappointed about that. So we can't do anything about that. That's kind of like the law, actually. Here's a map of the city of Charlotte. If you key in various addresses in the city of Charlotte, all the purple areas are low income. And here's a map of the city of Raleigh showing all the purple areas being low income as well. And I thought I'd just put these up as examples. I would like you to drill down, go specifically to your address to make sure that you are, whether or not you are in a low income area. Things that are needed to verify eligibility for targeted advance: your federal tax returns, your EIN, monthly gross receipts, confirming that the information in your original EIDL application is still accurate. And applicants initially eligible will require to sign that 4506T so that we can obtain tax transcripts for further processing. In terms of the application process, one submission for each targeted EIDL advance, please. It's really important that you carefully review the bank information as well. Let me say a word about bank information, because some folks that have been applying for the targeted EIDL advance, they have encountered problems with changing their bank account and such, and that has created further delays. I'm sure that question will come up during our Q&A, so I'll save my response on that, but changing your bank account is not an easy thing to do, and as a fraud prevention measure, we need to make sure that everything is carefully screened and such. You can send application questions, targeted advance at sba.gov. By the way, this entire session is being recorded, and it will be posted up on the SBTDC website. So you can refer to a lot of this information at a later date. Like Bob said, give it about 24 hours. Email targeted advance reevaluation if you would like SBA to reevaluate your denial. Okay. Now let me talk about supplemental targeted advance. If you qualify for the targeted advance, you will be invited to apply for the supplemental targeted advance, which is an additional $5,000. And here's the thing with supplemental targeted advance. As I said, SBA will reach out directly to those who may qualify. 5 plus 10, up to $15,000 in free money. And here's the other thing about supplemental targeted advance. Whereas under targeted advance, we said you have to show at least a 30% drop in revenues. With supplemental targeted advance, you have to show at least a 50% economic loss. So for many of you out there, if you qualify for the targeted advance, chances are you might very well also qualify for the supplemental targeted advance. But you have to have 10 or fewer employees. Under targeted advance, we said 300 or fewer. This is really targeted. We're looking for the smallest of the small. And so we say you have to have 10 or fewer employees. And so notice with our SBA programs, we're kind of drilling down to make capital accessible to as many, especially of our smallest small businesses, and particularly with our minority and underserved community, who have traditionally found a great deal of difficulty in accessing capital. And that's kind of like the whole common thread that I want folks to be cognizant of as we're talking about EIDL and the EIDL Advanced programs. It's our mission to ensure that all of our underserved audiences in particular get the financing they need, because we recognize that minority, women, veterans, rural communities, et cetera, have traditionally had a difficult time accessing capital. And that's why we've made many of these programs available to help folks like you weather the storm and the continued effects of the pandemic. Key slide here, the deadline of December 31st. So this is how it works. If you have an EIDL loan application or your targeted advance application by December 31st, you should be okay. You should be okay in terms of meeting that deadline, as long as your application for those two is in place. Supplemental targeted advance, that's a different story. And by law, we cannot process anything on supplemental targeted advance after December 31st. So SBA strongly encourages eligible small businesses to apply by December 10th to ensure adequate processing time. Another thing to clarify is that you can, as the borrower, request increases up to your maximum eligible loan amount for up to 2 years after your loan origination date or until funds are exhausted, whichever is sooner. So let's just say that today you're applying for your very first economic injury disaster loan and you get approved within a couple of weeks. After approval and disbursement, you have an additional 2 years to request an increase in your loan up to your maximum eligible loan amount, provided that funds are still available. So that's the thing, provided that funds are still available. And so I don't want anybody to misunderstand by saying, oh yeah, okay, I'll just come back 2 years from now. Be aware that funds could very well be exhausted before that 2-year time frame. So that's something that folks are going to need to keep attuned to. Sign up for the SBA newsletter, stay in touch with your SBTDC, SCORE, Women's Business Center, VBOC counselor, so that you can be kept apprised regularly of these deadlines and other things. Follow us on social media because we keep those announcements regularly updated as well. And finally, let's just say you got your application, your EIDL application before December 31st, but you were declined. So does that mean all is lost? No, because SBA can accept and review reconsiderations after December 31st. As long as you got your application in there by December 31st, we can give you the time, to say, yes, SBA, I would like you to reconsider my loan, after the December 31st deadline. As long as it's in by December 31st, you should be okay. So a couple of things on that deadline. Very important stuff here for folks to bear in mind. So the deadline is December 31st. As long as your EIDL application is in there by December 31st, you should be okay. In terms of local resources, I think I just mentioned them. There's the SBTDC, our very fine partners, with 15 SBTDC offices across the state of North Carolina to help you navigate the COVID EIDL landscape and all your other COVID and non-COVID related needs. There's SCORE. We have 9 chapters of SCORE across the state, volunteer counselors, active and retired from business that are available to help. There's our Veterans Business Outreach Center at Fayetteville State to serve our veterans community. There's the 5 women's business centers across the state of North Carolina in Charlotte, Fayetteville, Asheville, Raleigh-Durham, and now Winston-Salem State University to serve women entrepreneurs. And finally, the Small Business Center Network is not an SBA program, but we do a lot of collaboration with them. And they have small business centers across the state at the various community college to help folks as well. And here are some websites and some websites, email addresses, and phone numbers that I'm going to be putting in the chat in just a moment for everybody to take a look at. But with that, I'd like to go ahead and call on Patrick and Sharon Harvey to help me with the Q&A. And let's just go ahead and we'll take this. Here we go. Yeah, my EIDL loan has been in process since July. My tax transcript was requested in August, and it still says in progress. I have not been able to get any updates and same response. Who can I contact for answers? Yeah, your best bet, really, if you want to go straight to the source and find out what the deal is with your disaster loan, that would be disaster customer service at SBA.gov. I really need to emphasize that because your local district office, me, Patrick, and Sharon, we do not process these loans. So we cannot really affect any information there. What we could tell you would be, honestly, no different from what you could get if you went straight to the source with disaster customer service. And I wonder, yeah, let me go ahead and I'll read through some of the rest of these. As I said, let me see if I can actually post some of those here, if you'll give me just a moment. Okay, let me take some of the other questions here. Do you need to put up property to receive the EIDL loan? That's from Shirley. Patrick, you want to take this?
Yes, so the guidelines are different depending on the amount of the EIDL. So above 500,000 to 2 million, you will be putting up a UCC lien and business real estate. If it's from 25,000 to 500,000, then it'll just be a UCC and a personal guarantee above 200,000. So business real estate above 500,000 is required.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Next one is for Sharon. We declined moving forward on our EIDL in July 2020. Do we do a reconsideration email or reapply? Sharon, do you want to take that one?
Of course I will. Well, good morning. Yes, you just need to reapply. We do not want you to, we want you to update that application. So please send your email request to the reconsideration to open up your application number again. So you'll just send the email using that application number, starting with the 3, and then let them know that you want to have your application reconsidered and to let them know what you need to resubmit.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Actually, if I kind of reread the question where Charles says, we declined moving forward on our EIDL, it kind of depends on what that means exactly. Does that mean you decided not to apply? Because if you decided not to apply, that means you don't actually have an application, any record of a previous application. So yeah, you would need to submit a brand new application. But yeah, as Sharon said, if you did have an application in there, just move forward by requesting a reconsideration. And I'm going to type the pdc.reconsideration@sba.gov. pdc.reconsideration@sba.gov is the email address. Charles and I just typed that in for you. Hello. Yeah, some of these are really specific, and I'm kind of like hesitant to take some of those. But here, let me see if I can take some of these. Hello, this is so and so. Oh. Here, let me say this one. Let me kind of couch this one in very general terms. So this person has a situation where she applied for an economic injury disaster loan. She says, I have not received the money yet. The SBA office claims the money has been dispersed to my bank, but the bank said they never received any of this amount. Any assistance? Patrick, what do you think on that?
Yeah, it could be any number of things. The SBA could have sent it to the lender. The lender may have
Yeah.
held it thinking it was a fraudulent transaction. They could have given it to, there is like a fund that the state has where if it sits in the bank for so long without being released, it'll go into that fund. So it could be there, or it could have been returned to the SBA. So there's a couple of places those funds may be. So we'll have to track that down by talking with the loan processing center in Fort Worth to see if it was returned by the lender or not. So that's something that they can do by calling the 800 number,
Yeah.
1-800-659-2955, and give them your loan application number.
Yeah. Patrick, is the COVID EIDL bank returns email still valid?
Yes, yeah, that's true too. We have access to a couple of high priority inboxes that deal with certain elements of the EIDL program, and we could prioritize a email inquiry into that.
Yeah.
Where those funds are.
Yeah, I also just typed in COVID EIDL bank returns at sba.gov for that person.
Yeah.
And I believe that I believe the answers that I'm typing are actually going public, so all the folks can see this. Let me skip
Mike,
back.
I would like to add on that one to the person about the funds. If they still have the email or any kind of correspondence from their loan officer, maybe they could try that, or just to see where the funds are, or call the Birmingham Servicing Center to see if there is an actual loan that was processed.
Yeah, I think this is a good time for me to talk a little bit about bank accounts and that sort of thing. After like July of last year, the SBA's Office of Inspector General really came down on SBA, and they said you need to institute far stronger safeguards against fraud. And because of those safeguards, we're seeing a lot more due diligence take place, especially when it comes to the handling of bank accounts. For example, SBA disaster-related loans, COVID EIDL, these are intended for business purposes. And so as an example, if you state like a personal checking account to deposit the funds, that would be flagged. And in fact, the funds could not be accepted into a personal bank account. Another thing that we've seen, and this is a common issue that we are seeing time and again, is you go in to apply for an EIDL or a targeted advance with one bank account, and then midstream, you go into SBA and say, oh, can you just change the account instead of this one? Can you make it this account? That is a giant red flag that SBA really needs to take a look at. It is not just a matter of, oh, okay, you have a new account, we'll just go ahead and input that right now. No, it's a lot more, vigorous than that. We need to verify, first of all, your identity. We need to make sure that the email coming to us uses the same IP address as what was initially sent to us. Let me give you an example of why SBA is so tight when it comes to, keying in bank accounts. One of the things that we know of that bad actors actually do is every now and then bad actors will get your email address and they'll send an email to SBA saying, oh, could you direct the funds to this account instead? So we kind of double check and triple check to make sure that those things aren't happening. That accounts for the reason why we're very strict and we're very rigid on this, because after all, this is your money as taxpayers, and we need to ensure that we are good stewards of your money as taxpayers. We want to make sure that deserving folks like you do have access to your capital, but we also want to make sure that bad actors do not have access to your money as well. And that's why SBA can be very, very tight and very vigorous when it comes to clamping down and kind of doing our due diligence to make sure that the funds go where they really should. So that accounts for why sometimes it takes a lot longer. It's not just a matter of, oh, why can't you just change the account? we have to double check and triple check to make sure that you're the right person and that it's not some fraudulent kind of thing going on. So that would explain that. Talithia was asking, why is it taking so long for those to come back? And I think she was talking about the 4506T. Actually, there are a couple of kind of stragglers out there, older kind of applications that we've been waiting for, but I can tell you now, the latest I heard in terms of the 4506T processing, what we're looking at now, 5 to 10 working days, which is actually a phenomenal improvement over what we saw a couple of months ago. That's because the SBA and the IRS have been working very hard to make sure that this process goes as quickly as possible to our struggling businesses. So it used to be what I would say a long time. We've improved that a lot over the last couple of weeks. Oh, this is an interesting one. I was declined, Patrick, I was declined on my new loan application. Original loan was 50,000 and I asked for 350 more. I never received info on why I was declined. Now in my portal, it shows declined with no options to reapply. Do I have any options to get increased funding? Yeah, Patrick,
So,
what do you, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so I would say that most likely the Disaster Loan Processing Center sent a denial letter attached as a PDF to the email that we had on file. So you may want to go back and see your spam folder, see if there's a decline letter sitting there. You can call the customer service center at 800-659-2955 and ask them what the reason for the decline was, and they'll let you know. It could be a number of things. It could just be unverifiable information. They could think that you lack economic need. It could be credit. It could be a number of things. So you want to call and find out what that decline reason was. And then you are able to then send in a reconsideration email, and that'll then kickstart the process of SBA reviewing your file again to see if you're eligible for the increase.
Yeah, and I'm going to type reply to Kevin's question with that email address so that everybody can see. Okay. Okay. No, this person says, Sharon, Charles says, this says 6 months from date of decline. We declined to move. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, I think we already handled that question. Okay. Next one says, thank you for your presentation. I was approved for EIDL July 2020, but have yet to receive funds. Corrected bank account information since October 2020 and received targeted, but still no EIDL. Who else can I contact other than COVID recon, disaster relief, bank return, etc.? Patrick, any idea there?
So if they were approved, that approval is probably just still sitting there. There's so many situations. So it could have been that they were approved in July of 2020, received that targeted advance, supplemental advance, and thought, well, I don't need the EIDL loan right now, and just let it be. So if that was the case, they can now email pdc.reconsideration.sba.gov to then reactivate that approval that they received back in July of 2020. If they've continually tried, let's say the other scenario was they did accept the EIDL back in July of 2020 and there hasn't been any traction, then they also need to call the customer service center and see if there was a decline sent, and they can then apply for reconsideration. So a couple of scenarios there that may pertain to that.
Yeah, and pardon my typing here. I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm also kind of replying to somebody with this. She says, I keep getting declined and I'm not sure why. And I just typed, just as Patrick was saying, email pdc.recons@sba.gov and ask SBA to reconsider the decline. Even if you're not sure, just send it in, get back in and say, I would like SBA to reconsider my decline, even if they haven't specified that. At least you're getting into the system. and use the application number in the subject line. Yeah, let's not waste any time going back and forth. Just send in your reconsideration in so that you're logged in properly, and then SBA will then kind of respond back to you in terms of things that might be needed.
Could I reiterate, Mike? You said that really quick. Please put your application number in the subject line.
Yeah,
for all
for
correspondence.
sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So Robbie is asking, are there any programs for a new business that started up after January 2021, since the new business would not qualify for COVID EIDL? Sharon, you want to take that?
Sure. There are a couple different scenarios, depending on the amount of money that you need and, of course, your credit, because you actually, if you are bankable, then you're not eligible for an SBA guarantee loan. But depending on how much money that you are in need of, SBA has our micro lenders. We have our Community Advantage program, and then we have our other 7A program. So you can either start with a bank. The best thing to do would be to start with the bank that you're banking with and establish that relationship, because the SBA has programs for $500 to $5.5 million. So depending on what your needs are, and I would say accept what your needs are. Don't just say, well, I think I need X amount of dollars. Try to make sure, get it to as close as you can. I need I need improvements. I need to buy this. I need to buy that. And then, like I say, start with your bank. And then if not, as Mike said, excuse me, we have our resource partners that can kind of help walk you through whether it is a micro loan that you need or a Community Advantage or one of the other SBA programs. But like I say, we have programs from $500 to $5.5 million. So we're there to help you to start your business and to help you grow it.
Yeah, and I'm going to type here sba.gov/lender match for SBA loans that are non-COVID related, Robbie. If you're looking for financing that kind of is not quite fits within COVID EIDL criteria. So we'll go ahead and send that off to you. Okay, interesting. Patrick, I'll forward this one to you. My business has made more money in 2020 than in 2019, so I was denied the targeted loan. I was also denied the EIDL loan. However, my business has been suffering greatly in 2021. My sales have been down by 46% in 2021. Do I wait until next year to reapply? No. You need to get every sort of application in if you qualify by this year. But Patrick, do you want to kind of add to that?
Yeah, I would say that it doesn't necessarily, the reason you were denied may or may not be based on the success of your business in 2020. 2019 is obviously the baseline that SBA wants to look at to determine your loan amount. But there's a very broad eligibility for businesses. Even if you did make more in 2020, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have economic injury. Maybe you did other things. You bought, plastic, to shield your workers. You may have spent more money for marketing because of decreased, revenue or decreased customers coming in. So, I mean, there's a lot of different situations that would apply. So I would say put in for a reconsideration to see if you're still eligible, and you can do that. The sooner the better, basically.
Yeah. When it comes to applying for the EIDL loan, this is something that we heard on kind of like an internal town hall that we had recently. When it comes to applying for the EIDL loan, usually we look at, the 2019 tax returns or financial statements to show whether or not you have repayment ability or that sort of thing. And what we are finding that out, over our many months of experience is that sometimes the business shows an actual improvement in revenue in 2020 as compared to 2019, because in 2019, maybe they were shut down for 6 months because they were moving into a new building, or there was something else extraordinary that affected that. And so in that case, the 2020 numbers actually look better than 2019. So what we have seen people do is, okay, you denied me because, you know, it looks like I didn't show a positive repayment ability in 2019. SBA, can you look at my 2018 results? And so we can take a look at that. We can look at a year that shows more normal kinds of operations. And I offer that as one example to say that, you know, all is not lost, you know, if, you know, you actually do show that you made more money in 2020, because we look at things on a case-by-case basis. You just have to come back to us and point that out to us so that we can do our reconsideration. Okay. Next question. I am a small business with less than 10 employees, Sharon. I am not in a purple area. What will be the best loan for me to apply for? Yeah, if you're not in a purple area, that's only for the targeted event, the free money. You can still apply for EIDL regardless of where you are. Okay. Is there any exception for those who are behind on income taxes due to medical hardship? It will take many months to get 2019 taxes done. Interesting.
Are they asking for a loan? I mean, do they have some sort of repayment plan already established?
Yeah, that's the thing. It will take many months to get 2019 taxes done. Yeah, you kind of, yeah, you need to file your taxes. That's, yeah. I don't think we can kind of get around that. I mean, your taxes need to be filed as of 2019. Yeah, anything to comment there, Patrick?
No, I just on the calls that we've been on for the office hours, they reiterated that those are a requirement.
Yeah. Yeah, again, this is federal debt that you're applying for, okay? And so it's important that taxpayers, you know, are properly filed and that sort of thing. It's probably a very fundamental concern that SBA takes a look at. My loan was declined a few months ago. Can I get, yes, of course, just use reconsideration. My increase was approved 30 days ago, but has yet to be funded. Is there anything we can do? Yeah, 30 days is kind of a little bit on the long side, wouldn't you say, Sharon?
Well, 30 days is, now it depends on which, in my opinion, where they are. Are they at the 500,000? Are they trying to get 2 million? So we're finding that on a larger scale, it's taken about 45 days. So
yeah,
it just depends on the amount of the increase that they ask for.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Because if they're looking for higher loan amounts, there's going to be collateral that needs to be searched and filed as well. So that has something to do with it.
They also may be waiting to get a resolution of the board for the first loan. So there may be some documents needed on the first loan before they can do the increase.
Yeah. Another thing that I've seen in working with people that are calling or expressing concern is a lot of times folks are waiting to hear from SBA, but it's actually a situation where SBA is waiting to hear from you because one of our offices sent you an email saying, we need, you know, these 2 items, please submit as soon as possible. So, you know, just please be sure to check your inboxes and your spam folders for any kinds of, you know, kind of random emails like that, where SBA is actually sitting back and waiting for you to make the next move. A lot of times I've seen that happen with a lot of cases. Okay, any special consideration for tour and travel industry? I think actually those are part of the NAICS codes, the new NAICS codes, right? That we are kind of allowing folks with multiple locations. I think that would be about it. Yeah. Okay, a lot of these have to do with why is it taking so long with reconsiderations? Yeah. It continues to just show pending month after month. Yeah, I think that kind of gets back to, you know, what I said is very often we have people saying, hey, I'm just waiting, but actually SBA is the one kind of waiting on you. So please check your emails again, just as a word of advice there.
And or call the 800 customer service number for an update.
Yeah. Can you give us an idea of what the repayment looks like for a $500,000 loan? I'm not going to do that right here, but what you can do is Google this Amortization table. You can find these anywhere, and they're just key in the loan amount, the term of 30 years, plus your interest rate of 3.75. That can easily spit that out for you. Okay. Am I qualified if I just started the business this year, Patrick?
So if you started in 2021, you would not be eligible for a COVID EIDL disaster loan, but you would be eligible for other SBA loan programs like the microloan, community advantage, possibly the 7A loan, but not the COVID EIDL.
Yeah. Okay. What's the maximum EIDL amount without making a personal guarantee? That would be 25,000. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We had a loan, Sharon. We had a loan for 7 to 8 months and then paid off our 150,000 in early 2021, and would like to apply for new funds at an increase. Do we update the previous application or start over anew? That's a very good question. I forgot what the answer is. I think they start all over, right? Because it's now been paid off, or is there a wrinkle there that I'm not aware of? Sharon?
Well, you said that the 150,000 they paid off.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, you're only eligible for one EIDL loan, and you've paid it off, so you're not eligible for any kind of additional increase because you've actually already paid the loan off.
Yeah, you know what? That is kind of you are refreshing my memory. I believe that is correct. Patrick, did you hear anything differently? I think I'm recalling hearing that as well.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they paid it off, the loan is actually closed, so they've already received their one loan.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. My loan has been in, actually, this is going to be the last one that I'm going to pass to Bob. Let me take a quick one. For the targeted grant, just to confirm, we need to send the email with application number and voided check, driver's license, banking information, EIN, and employee account. Well, to apply for the targeted grant, you have to apply for EIDL. So go to sba.gov/EIDL. And then after that, SBA will email you, I think, instructions to the portal or something like that. Did I get that right, Patrick?
Correct.
Right.
Oh.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Same. Yes, we're both nodding yes.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Okay, yeah, we're coming up on 9 o'clock. I do want to save a little bit of time for Bob and Catherine to come back on, but I do want to thank everybody for joining us today. I hope this has been helpful. The number one takeaway I'd like to leave with everybody is that December 31st deadline. As long as you have your application in for EIDL or for targeted advance, you should be okay. For supplemental targeted advance, you need to be approved before December 31st. So, you know, SBA is encouraging folks for that one, get it in by December 10th at the absolute latest. Now, I also said that you have 2 years within which to request an increase to your EIDL loan. You need to be very careful that as long as funds are available, you can take advantage of that. But if, you know, funds are no longer available a couple of months from now, then I'm afraid that that you wouldn't be able to take advantage of that. So time is of the essence with a lot of these things. Okay. With that, let me go ahead. Thank you again for having us. Thank you, Bob and Catherine, for your partnership. And I'll turn it over to Bob.
Mike, thank you, Sharon and Patrick. It's been so great to have you on here, and this whole series has been so helpful to our clients out there across the state. We'd like to thank everybody who attended this webinar. We will have a repeat of this at 5 o'clock this evening in case you missed something. We'd also like to help thank all of the SBA partners that are listed on the screen, the SBA itself, SCORE, the Veterans Business Opportunity Center, all of our women's business centers, including the newest one at Winston-Salem State University, and all 58 community college small business centers. Our next webinar, we don't have one planned other than the one this evening, but until 2022. If something comes up and we have to, real big news to do, we might slip one in there, but there's none planned currently. This webinar has been recorded and the slides will be available online at www.sbtdc.org/coronavirus/webinars.html. All of you that had questions, I want you to know that our business resiliency team, our counselors across the state, will receive those questions and be following up to make sure that all the answers were complete enough for you and to offer assistance. If you'd like to accelerate that process, you can request a virtual appointment with a resiliency counselor at www.sbtdc.org/ERFC. And thank you so much for attending, and all of our SBA North Carolina District Office team. We're looking forward to continuing to assist clients and looking forward to 2022.
Yeah.